All righty, guys. Good evening. Good evening. I am Ryan alongside Caleb here. This is going to be the winter storm briefing here. We're going to get through things as quickly as we possibly can. For those of you who are watching on replay, let's go ahead and dive right on in. So, for those of you who do not know what's going on, we have a winter storm on the horizon here, expected Wednesday night into Thursday and potentially Friday as well. Go ahead and dive into the models here. Let's go ahead and get this through, starting with our expectation of precipitation. Here's your snow on radar futurecast here. We're going to have a clipper system that's going to remain in northern Michigan tonight into tomorrow morning, so Wednesday morning. That'll dump about 1 inch to up to 3 inches in spots of fresh snow across northern Michigan. And behind that, we're going to have lake effect snow once again. Yes, lake effect snow once again as that system moves off to the east. And that will turn our winds out of the west-northwest and then over warm lake waters. We will have a potential for, again, significant accumulations of lake effect snow. Now, this is not just going to be a snow event. And I think the main impacts here are also going to be felt in the way more so. The main impacts, aside from snow, are going to be those winds that are going to be expected to be gusting up to 40, perhaps 50 miles per hour in spots. And combining that with our snow, we could have blizzard-like conditions as well as drifting and blowing snow. Let's go ahead and dive into things here. So first and foremost, as clipper system moves through tonight, we're going to have that dump about 1 or 3 to up to 3 inches, should I say. And then behind that, winds turn northwest. This is going to happen right around Wednesday evening. We're going to see that system pass, wind shift during the Wednesday afternoon time frame, into Wednesday evening, into Thursday overnight there. And that's going to be the main time frame for number one, winds to pick up. Number two, snow squalls to begin in southwest lower Michigan and also the UP and northern lower as well. Then also a potential for a flash freeze all around that Wednesday evening time frame. So let's go ahead and dive back in here to the model. Those snow showers will continue. Here's overnight Wednesday. And notice here, the heaviest is going to reach eastern Michigan here, perhaps Wednesday evening as well. But as we get into Wednesday overnight into Thursday, the west side of Michigan and also northern lower as well as the UP continues to get their lake effect snow. As we get into the day on Thursday and into Thursday evening, it will continue to snow. So again, a longer duration event here. That's going to start Wednesday evening. And it's going to continue into perhaps Thursday evening, if not Friday morning. Now, here's your temperatures here. Here's where it gets interesting. We talk about Wednesday evening. That's going to be the most significant impacts here. Here's Wednesday morning here, temperature-wise. You're going to have, here comes your cold air there. This is Wednesday at 5 p.m. There comes your below zero wind chills. This is at 8 p.m. Over in Wisconsin, we're at 15 below. UP, 10 below, 6 below. These are wind chills. This isn't temperature. This is wind chills. Keep that in mind. It will come into Michigan here by the time you guys wake up on Thursday morning. These are your wind chills in perhaps the entire state in the single digits. And most of us down here, the population is in below zero contours here, and also the Western UP as well. So Thursday morning is going to be cold, but not only that, it's going to be windy and snowy. It's going to feel like a winter. Speaking of the wind, we have this from Pivotal Weather. This is your wind chart here. We're going to see an increase tomorrow. This is during the day on Wednesday. It'll be windy during the day tomorrow, but also pay attention here to Wednesday evening, where this is, look at that wind across the lake there in Wisconsin. That is what's going to really usher in these cooler temperatures here as we get into that Wednesday overnight period. See the wind gusts here, 40 to 45, perhaps 50 miles per hour in spots. And that all happens Wednesday evening. And with that being said, that is the time frame for number one, temperatures will drop, flash freeze potential. And number two, snow squalls will pick up. And number three, winds are also going to pick up. All right. Accumulation-wise, our forecast is as follows. The purple areas in the UP, 8 to 12 plus. Okay, we didn't put plus in the graphic here, but all these areas are plus, especially the pink and the purple zones. So 8 to 12 plus in UP, as well as the tip of northern lower. 4 to 8 is the expectation across the west side of Michigan from about Sturgis, Three Rivers, up to that Gaylord, Traverse City, all on the West Michigan lakeshore there. 4 to 8 inches. And then around that, we're going to have 3 to 6. Further east, we're going with a 2 to 4. And then even the east side of Michigan may get in on some snow squall action here, especially Wednesday evening when those winds start cranking. That will drive those snow squalls inland and potentially slick up some roadways on the east side, maybe leading to an inch or two of accumulation, especially across I-96 between 94 and 96 there but it could be all across southeast Michigan. So keep in mind, if you're out driving tomorrow evening, a bit later, probably 7, 8, 9 o'clock ish, that would be the time frame to start watching. If you have weather radars or if you're just out and about, just keep an eye on rapidly changing conditions, as these will be gusty and also they will be quite intense in nature. So we could have some near zero visibilities across a lot of the state, really. But it won't be the entire state. It'll just be localized to where these snow bands set up. And right now we can't tell you where, but tomorrow evening we'll be posting updates on the page as to what areas are expected to be greatest impacted, especially there in eastern Michigan, where I think some people may be caught off guard with these snow squalls moving in. Outside of that, current alerts, we have winter storm watches in effect from the NWS out of Grand Rapids, Gaylord, and Marquette. Winter storm watches are in blue there. Winter storm warnings are in pink. Then also for the UP, winter storm warnings are in effect, as well as advisories, winter weather advisories there in blue. We could definitely see more advisories be issued further east here. If we go back to that map. Further east there, for example, like Branch County, Calhoun, Eaton, perhaps Ionia, perhaps getting into winter weather advisories tomorrow. Those far western counties definitely on the table. We could get added to an advisory during the day tomorrow. And also do expect there to be blizzard-like conditions as well. I wouldn't expect there to be any blizzard warnings issued just because these snow squalls are very localized in nature. But still, nonetheless, we're going to have really gusty winds combined with potentially heavy snow squalls in localized areas. So the entire travel forecast for tomorrow would be basically don't go out in the evening if you don't have to, especially on the west side, northern lower, and the UP as well. All right. So with that being said, I would turn to the comments here. Hopefully we explained everything here. Before I do that, shout out to our sponsor here, Katz Roofing and Siding, based out of Lansing. They do roofing, siding, gutters, and windows. Feel free to give them a call, 517-485-9886. Thank you to Katz for sponsoring.
And with that being said, let's jump to comments here, see who's joining us here tonight. We got Axe, Julie, Travis, Summer. Great to see you guys. Trish is in here as well. And with that being said, we got a $20 super chat from Red Dozer. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated as always.
Can I get a redo? No, you cannot, Red. Sorry.
No takebacks.
Nope, no takebacks. Thank you, as always, for your generous support.
And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll try to keep the answers brief and quick because we can get through them as fast as possible. I did see one a little while earlier. Could there be school delays tomorrow? There could be.
In fact, I will.
Northern
I'm going to jump in here, Caleb, and say we already have some school closings coming in on West Michigan. I've already believe. I don't know the exact details, but I've seen a few posts, I think, from Blake Harms. Don't quote me on this, but I believe he's already been posting some of these that have come in over the past couple hours. So if you're on the west side, I'd recommend making sure you're not already closed. But yes, go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, school closings and delays are definitely on the table tomorrow, especially across, I would expect to see the majority of them being across northern lower as well as the UP. And that is because that's where our concentration of snow is going to be the highest tomorrow morning into tomorrow evening. As our Clipper system is moving through, that's where the snow is going to be localized the most tomorrow. However, after school gets out across the LP, that's when things are going to deteriorate across the lower peninsula, especially along Lake Michigan in the southern half of the LP in terms of lake effect snow. Ryan, if you want to go back to the HRRR there, something to note is as temperatures are going to crash tomorrow evening on the backside of this cold front, along that cold front, as it moves through, we can expect a heavy squall line of snow or perhaps some rain changing to snow right on the leading edge of the cold front. That's going to bring heavy snow and winds associated with that. It's going to be brief. It's not going to be a long duration of that, but expect to see a snow squall, perhaps a snow squall moving across lower Michigan tomorrow afternoon, right around mid-afternoon. Ryan, if you want to get that pulled up there for me, sir, that'd be great. There's your wind chills there. There it is. There we go. So right around, mid-late afternoon there. This is right around dinner time. That cold front comes through across the LP. And then back behind that, winds are actually going to shift. They'll be out of the southwest most of the day tomorrow, 15 to 20, 25 miles an hour. But then behind that cold front, you're going to see a wind shift from southwest to northwest. Those winds are going to be ripping across the lake, coming from Canada. They're going to bring down all that Arctic air, and that's what's going to drop our temperatures immensely. What's concerning, though, as this happens, especially across the lower portions of Michigan, we're going to warm up briefly tomorrow into the mid-30s in places, especially along the I-94 corridor and south. We'll actually get above perhaps 35 degrees. What that's going to do is that's going to create the roads very wet. If we get any snow or rain, it could actually make the roadways wet. But when this cold front comes through, temperatures are going to crash immensely. They're going to crash very fast. And what could happen as a result is called a flash freeze. When cold air rapidly descends and rapidly cools, it also cools your pavement. It cools your bridges. We can get black ice, slippery conditions. So that's something that we're concerned about going into tomorrow night, is the potential for what's known as a flash freeze. And that could, of course, bring dangerous driving conditions across the I-94 corridor, I-69. I'm mainly concerned about South Lower Michigan right now, but it could happen across Northern Michigan as well, depending on how fast those temperatures crash. Salt does have a limit on when it doesn't work as efficiently as it should. Once temperatures get, especially when you get flirting near the single digits and the low teens single digits, salt cannot melt the snow fast enough before it freezes. So do watch out for black ice tomorrow night on the roadways, as we could have that being an issue. So
you'll probably hear that term flash freeze thrown around between now and tomorrow evening. So that's a great explanation there from Caleb about what to expect tomorrow. But just keep in mind, I think travel all throughout the evening tomorrow into Thursday will be a no-go. I'm not going to say a no-go, but it will be impacted across, especially West Michigan, but probably East Michigan at some points as well.
Yeah, if you are traveling in the snow belts in your lake effect zones, do be very cautious. Stay weather savvy as you're out on the roads, because the biggest thing with this is going to be the winds. It's going to be wind-driven snow. Lake effect snow rates could exceed 2 inches per hour in the stronger bands, but the combination of heavy snow and winds perhaps gusting to 40 to 45 plus miles per hour is going to create whiteout conditions on the roads when you're in these snow squalls. That is extremely dangerous, especially on the freeways, going from good visibility to zero visibility in less than a mile. That's where pileups can occur, as we've seen yesterday. Conditions deteriorate very, very quickly in those conditions. So do be safe if you're out on the roads. Treat them with caution. And ultimately, I would advise not going out at all tomorrow night in those lake effect zones, just because of that. So,
got Red back for another month with us on a membership. Thank you, Red. And also, Caleb, did you call Red a sir? Because I am not.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know that.
Caleb's new here. He'll learn eventually.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
What's the time frame, Nicole asks? So the immediate impacts, it'll be mostly centered tomorrow evening, right around, we're going to say 7 p.m. and onward, into the overnight, and again into Thursday. It'll be continuing to snow. But the worst impacts is flash freezing. Winds will pick up, snow as well. Wednesday evening, tomorrow evening, 7 p.m.
Flash freezing would mainly be after the 6 p.m. time frame, after it gets dark, once that cold front comes through. Tomorrow, keep in mind, our high temperatures tomorrow are going to be reached early in the day, especially across the UP. High temperatures in the UP in the mid-20s across western UP. However, by late afternoon, let's go to Gogebic County, for instance. You're going to reach your high temperature close to 11 a.m. in the morning, and that's going to be around the mid-20s. However, look what happens when we go near dinner time, around 5 o'clock. Gogebic, Ontonagon, you're going to be in the single digits, under 10 degrees, perhaps, by dinner time tomorrow night. Yep. And that's how fast this cold air is going to move in behind this cold front. There's not going to be a window to adjust to it. It's just going to hit you hard.
And we were showing you wind chills here. These are actual temperatures now on your screen. You see single digits over there in western UP. But all across Michigan here, temperatures are going to be close to 10 to 15 degrees here. Yeah. So even though the wind chills are below zero, the air temperatures are still going to be quite cold. Coldest air of the season for us so far. So.
Yeah, and you can thank Lake Michigan over there for keeping the coldest air over in Wisconsin and not allowing it to come across the lake. It actually warms the air a little bit, insulating us. So you can thank the lake for that, for what otherwise would be much colder.
We're not going to know the exact drive conditions across the state. We do put forecasts out every morning when there's expected to be impacts during the day. So stay tuned to our page. It's usually posted around 7 or 8 a.m. But yes, I would expect travel impacts across the entire state. If not for just snow, I would expect there's black ice, but also low visibility as well. So again, this is the weather that we get pileups in. This is the weather that we just can't seem to learn how to drive in Michigan for the first or second time of the year when when winter weather comes around. So just be cautious and stay safe out there.
Yeah, the best advice I can give you if you have anywhere to go tomorrow, check your radar, use your app, check your radar. Try to plan ahead a little bit. If there's a snow squall that you're going to have to drive through, just anticipate that and be ready for it, and give yourself extra time too. Don't rush yourself getting out the door and getting to point A to point B. Wake up an hour early if you have to give yourself that extra time. Use time as an advantage, not a disadvantage. So do keep that in mind as you go out the door tomorrow.
And also, just for the earlier statement, I must have saw something from yesterday because there are currently no closings on the west side. The post I saw was from yesterday, actually, so I apologize about that. But yeah, do keep in mind, and I will shout out to Blake Harms at Wood TV. He does predictions on school closings. Great job over there. He's a great reference to follow for West Michigan school closings.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. Back to chat. We'll have an update on our forecast tomorrow, probably around the morning, if not noon time frame for you guys.
Yep.
Typically, we try to get that out around the noon time frame. We know everybody wants to get the updates, but sometimes we want to wait for all the data to come in if we're having some uncertainty there. So expect it around noon or so. Again, this forecast is valid through Friday morning. And we'll have to adjust. I do think we're going to adjust a few of these areas tomorrow just based on latest guidance. We're going to have areas that are going to get more than what we have shown here. Localized, an inch or two more. We're going to add those corridors in tomorrow and potentially shift it east, west, north, south. So
especially where those lake effect bands are persistent, they'll shift and deviate throughout the afternoon tomorrow and throughout overnight tomorrow night as well. But where you can get consistent banding, that's where you're going to get your snowfall rates of 2+ an hour, to where you can really rack up the totals in a very short amount of time. But expect deviations in that. They'll move with the wind a little bit and go on from there.
Are we going to see record snowfall this winter? The answer is we're still uncertain. I wouldn't be surprised in some areas up north we continue this type of pattern. But we got to remember, though, the UP especially is used to this kind of snow. Like, they get this snow almost every single year. Caveat was last year we didn't really have much of any snow up there, but this is pretty typical for early season lake effect for the UP, northern lower, even western lower as well. But I will say this pattern is very active, so I wouldn't be shocked if this continues throughout December and January. We could get some record snowfalls, that's for sure.
Yep, and the winter's still early too. I mean, technically, meteorological winter has only been going on now for 3 days. This is the third day of meteorological winter, and astronomical winter starts on the 21st. So it's still very, very early in the season, and our lake waters are very, very warm. That's another important reason why we're getting such an upkick in lake effect snow. When we have this really cold Arctic air mass that's been persistent over the region, it's interacting with those really warm lake waters, and that adds moisture and instability, and therefore you get snowfall. So it is very early in the season to get this large of an event and persistent of an event. Is it unheard of? It's not. But it is quite a long duration event for this early in the season, that of which is a little bit unusual, but not entirely unheard of.
Snow will be for our snow belts primarily Thursday morning, but again, wind is going to be pretty strong throughout both Wednesday and Thursday. That'll be something that's going to be ongoing pretty much all day tomorrow, but it's really going to ramp up Wednesday evening into Thursday there. So Thursday morning, wind will be ongoing all day Thursday, as well as snow in the west and northern portion of Michigan. And temperatures are going to be cold Thursday as well. So
yeah,
more of a long duration event, but it's going to hit you like a blast there tomorrow evening. That's going to be the worst, I would assume.
Yeah, we're all going to feel it.
Hard.
Yeah, in terms of the winds, in terms of timing, tomorrow morning, the strongest winds will actually be associated across the lower half of Michigan, across the LP, especially southwest lower in the LP. You're going to have winds out of the southwest at about 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusting perhaps to 40, but I think most gusts tomorrow morning will be in the 30 to 35 mile an hour range. And then you'll see a little bit of a lull. Actually, the winds may die down a little bit for the LP late afternoon, just ahead of that cold front. And then once the cold front comes through, those winds are going to shift from southwest to northwest. And then that's where your really strong winds start to pick up, where winds go from 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusting to 40 miles an hour. And that's statewide. Right along the near shore of the lakes, Lake Michigan shoreline, Lake Superior shoreline, wouldn't be surprised to see a 50-mile-an-hour gust clocked somewhere along the lake shores, just because there's less friction over the lakes and those winds can really ramp up as well. Also, another thing to note, the National Weather Service in Marquette has issued a freezing spray warning up there, and that is associated with strong winds and waves crashing on shore and freezing. So something else to note as we do get these strong wind events. It's why we need to stay off the piers and be cognizant along the lakeshore, just because you get really dangerous conditions there with freezing spray. So do keep that in mind.
Yes, trace to an inch would be Jackson. We have 0 to 2 for the gray areas here. But I will say for that area from about Lansing to Jackson over to Adrian, would not be shocked if we have a little bit further east accumulations based on these winds becoming quite strong. They could carry these lake effect snow bands further to the east, especially down there in those zones. And that's kind of why we also highlighted Huron County as well. Just because when you get these really strong winds with these lake effect bands, they can be pushed inland quite far. So we would not be shocked to see isolated higher amounts in the gray zones there. Again, we're going to adjust this map tomorrow with new data and stuff coming out. But yeah, again, I think all these areas mentioned do have potential for both locally higher amounts. Watch for trash cans and other loose objects in the roadways. Yes, the trash can window meter is at a down the road for tomorrow. We may need to put it at a 5 out of 5 for Thursday along the lakeshore though. But and we don't do spam in this chat here, so you're gone.
Yeah, with that being said, widespread power outages are not expected. However, scattered power outages are possible. So especially do keep that in mind if your power does go out tomorrow. Temperatures are going to drop very, very quickly. So do be prepared for that just in case you do happen to lose power tomorrow. Do keep that in mind and be prepared if your power does indeed go out tomorrow. Again, widespread power outages are not expected. However, isolated outages are definitely plausible, especially tomorrow night. So with the temperatures being as cold as they are, do be prepared if your power does go out, just in case. So.
That was supposed to be a block, not a bring up.
All right. Any other questions you guys have? I see here. What about the Michigan, Indiana line, Michiana area? Right now, 3-6 down there towards the Indiana, Michigan line, and that's across northwest Indiana and southwest lower Michigan. Right now, the heaviest snow looks to stay just north of the Indiana line within lower Michigan. Could see some lake effect bands, go down perhaps South Bend, Indiana. But right now, the bulk of the snow is going to be north of the Indiana-Michigan state line. And that's because our winds are more northwest oriented versus north oriented. Now, if the winds were to shift more out of the north versus northwest, it could bring those bands a little bit further south. But because there's more of a west oriented tilt to it, those bands are going to come onshore and stay across southwest lower Michigan versus Indiana.
Wind gusts for Belleville, right on 40 or so throughout the day tomorrow and Thursday. So nothing too major for you guys. But again, 40 miles per hour, it can not topple, but it can take down some tree limbs. So
yeah,
and it will relocate your trash can. So
yeah, fairly efficiently too.
We'll see when he gets that reference. Wouldn't be shocked to see snow over there as well in East Michigan, Belleville area. So would not be shocked at that at all.
Yeah. Likely be scattered over there, but quick bursts of heavy snow are possible as those lake effect bands do blow across the states. So
I see a couple of questions here about time frame. So again, the worst of conditions will be windy all day tomorrow and Thursday. That's going to be a given. Snow will begin for most of the western Michigan as well as northern Michigan Wednesday evening, as well as your very cold temperatures with a flash freeze potential. So that's going to begin Wednesday evening. Snow will continue as well as gusty winds and cold temperatures through the day on Thursday and potentially all the way into Friday morning. So it's going to be about 36 hours or so of this event. but it will be worse or be the worst right around Wednesday evening, tomorrow evening.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had reports up there in Gaylord and Northern Lower of 36, 40, 46 inches of snow. It's just going to add to it. So they need it up there. I mean, they for sure they could after the last winter we had, businesses up there are hurting. So this is good for their economy up there. It's also good for our ecosystem here in Michigan. We need the snow. We need a good freeze. So
yeah, keep in mind, I mean, we are still in a drought. There is still a moderate and severe drought across much of the state. So this snowpack, when it melts, it'll add into the water table and actually help out a lot in that nature. Will we get a lot of drifting? Yeah. Drifting is definitely on the table tomorrow, especially tomorrow night. As winds gust to 45 miles an hour, that's going to blow the snow around. So do expect snow-covered roadways, drifts, etc. So do be cognizant of that if you are out on the road. Blowing snow is definitely plausible, if not likely, tomorrow. So keep that in mind.
I see a couple comments in here about a warm-up for the mid-month, and I've been seeing a lot of posts being shared about like these maps with like really warm temperatures or supposedly warm temperatures. The maps you see on social media are anomaly maps. So anything that's warmer than the average is going to show up as a red color on those maps. So just because you see colors, temperature maps with like red, orange, and yellow on it, doesn't automatically mean we're going to be looking at 60s and 70s. Average for this time of year, like 30, 35 degrees or so. Anything above 35 degrees is going to be shown in a red color on those maps. So while we do expect to be a little warmer toward mid-month, I don't think it's going to be significant where we're talking like 60s or nothing like that. We're going to be probably looking at 50s.
It'll be short-lived as well.
Probably 40s.
Yeah.
Say what?
But there is, with that being said, though, the models have been showing a pattern change coming here next week. And we are going to briefly warm up, but the key word there is brief. We're not looking at a heat wave or anything like that. We're not going to see widespread 50s across the state, or at least it's not looking plausible right now. But a brief warm-up is possible. But after that, we're going to turn cold again as well. So. All right. Any other questions you guys have here? While you guys are putting those in there is one thing I want to talk about here briefly before we jump off here. I saw a couple comments on Facebook today and social media talking about how we're starting to see ice. So now brings up a great time to mention that just because your pond or lake may be starting to freeze over, same thing applies with rivers. Be sure to check it. Chances are right now we do not have enough ice pack to venture out very far, if not on it at all. Do keep that in mind. For it to hold an average adult human, it needs to be a minimum of at least 4 inches thick to be considered safe to venture out on. Right now, most ponds and lakes have a glaze, if that, on them. A lot of them are still open, so do keep that in mind if you are getting anxious to go out and do some ice fishing. We better wait a little bit longer yet and let that ice continue to get thicker, so you don't end up like our little friend here who is found out the hard way that should have been out there on the ice. So do keep that in mind. I know a lot of you guys are avid ice fishermen or just like to go ice skating as well. But do be cognizant of that our ice right now is not thick enough to venture out on. And before you go out, do test it. Make sure it is a minimum of at least 4 inches thick to hold a person. It needs to be a lot thicker than that if you think about driving an ATV or snowmobile on. It needs to be 5 to 7 inches, maybe 8 inches for a larger ATV or snowmobile. And for a small car, 9 to 12 inches thick, and then a foot plus when you get near small grade half tons pickup trucks. So do keep that in mind. So.
Lake temperatures right now, I don't know the exact temperatures, but I do know they're at record warmth. I checked that chart just earlier, midweek last week, about a week ago, actually. It's Tuesday, so
yeah.
And they were at record warmth. I can look at it here if I can pull up the website.
I know there's a lot of 40s in Lake Michigan right now. There may even be a couple 50s left in there as well. But the lake waters are near record warmth. And a lot of that is just because our fall was so warm for such a long duration. There hasn't been enough cold air to really allow those lakes to cool down a whole lot yet. So.
Yeah, the main one here, Superior in Michigan. I'll bring up this chart here just because It actually shows the temperature graph here. So if we, can I zoom in by chance? I wonder if I can zoom in. Cool.
Should be
This
able
is
to.
a chart, and this orange line right here is 2024. If you notice, we got record warmth. The next closest one would be 2016. That's the red line, and that was a few degrees less. So yes, we are at record warmth here on Lake Michigan.
And that's the average temperature as a whole throughout the entirety of the lake. So do keep that in mind. There are places that are warmer than that, and also areas that are colder than that as well. And that goes for all the lakes.
Any other questions, guys? Look to wrap it up here. So if you're just joining us, I would highly recommend going back to the first about 10 minutes or so of the video. We cover everything in depth, but overall expect conditions to worsen tomorrow evening. Winds will be strong all day tomorrow. We'll get that out of the way, but they will change direction as we have a little bit of a shift in direction, shift in wind direction. They'll go from southwest during the day to northwest in the evening. That'll usher in a Arctic air mass. We could see temperatures plunging, could see flash freezing going on. So do be prepared if you're traveling tomorrow, but also snow squalls will pick up in the evening tomorrow, and they'll last all day Thursday into the day on Friday for you guys across our snow belts. But also I do expect East Michigan to get in on some snow belt action tomorrow evening as well. So be prepared across the entire state for low visibility conditions, and also just changing road conditions in general as we get past this, we're going to say Arctic front that's going to come through tomorrow.
Yep.
With that being
said, once we get to the weekend, it'll be a much better.
Once we get yeah, I agree. Although I will say this, we're looking at multiple more systems upcoming too. So this is not going to be the end of it. We have a couple more. It could be rain though. I mean, we're looking to trend a little bit warmer than freezing. So we definitely could be looking at like rain snow mixes across the state. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's take it one day at a time at this point. We've been kind of slammed here the past 10 days, but we're rocking and rolling here. Glad you guys tuned in tonight. Appreciate you guys watching. I got, I think that's it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comment section on our Facebook page. We'll kind of monitor those for additional questions that come in. And again, if you guys want to see this forecast, it is posted on our Facebook page. Feel free to go take a peek. With that being said, we'll catch you guys tomorrow on an update video here on YouTube. I don't think we're going to go live, but we might if need be. But we'll have an update video posted sometime around noon tomorrow as well for you guys who are subscribed here on YouTube. All right. With that being said, we will catch you guys later. You guys stay safe and enjoy some wintry weather.